back to Traits of a Champion podcast. I'm John Fream, and I'm one of your hosts, along with Kevin Flattmann here.
Let's go.
Let's go. Episode number 4. And hey, we just want to take a quick moment to say thank you. We are so excited about this, and we're just having a great time. We're hearing from people literally all over the world, and we want to say thank you. Do us a huge favor and a shout out. Give us a shout out to your friends and tell somebody about us, and make sure you like and do all the things that Kevin usually tells you to do that I'm not savvy enough to tell you all the things to do. But I know you got to subscribe, like, share, those type things.
Yeah, and for those of you that are listening and you have social media, man, help us on Instagram, get those reels out, help us with Facebook and get all that stuff out there as well. And then share it with, a lot of you have, have businesses, you have people that you lead week in and week out, so share it with your business. This could be a great tool for all kinds of different people.
Yeah, and so we're a podcast, and we're just two preachers, just talking about life, talking about all kinds of things. But ultimately, we're talking about how to win. And it's our passion and our desire to help you win. You know, a lot of times, Kevin, just winning is a mindset. We've talked about that. We talked about it being a focus. We talked about your attitude. Your attitude will determine your altitude. Now, today, we're going to get into something about winning it's kind of under the hood. That's
right.
Really and truly, it's got a lot of oil, a lot of grease in it. It's not real flashy, not real fun, but it is probably one of the most important things to being a champion.
No doubt.
So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on today?
I think, all the last few things that we've talked about have kind of been, those things are super important, and all champions have those things in common. But if you don't do this, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's what
that's a great
at
point.
the end of the day, if you don't, where the rubber meets the road, is where what we're going to talk about today is right here on hard work.
And to build off of that, because Kevin said it perfectly, that you can get by with having losing focus for a little while. You can get by with your attitude for a while, but if you don't have this, you're not going to win. You're not going to be a champion. And I'll go so far as to say it like this: I've never seen a lazy champion.
No,
never seen it. So what we're talking about today is just hard work. If you're going to be a champion, you'd better learn that it's going to take hard work. And like attitude, you can control your attitude.
I don't know why this is coming to my mind right now, and I'm so sorry to say this, but you remember, Deion Sanders, coach for Colorado, like when he walks in the locker room, he's like, "Give me my theme music." Yeah. When I think about hard work, I think like there's a theme song going through my head right now.
Theme song
like for me, it's like Brooks and Dunn, "I'm a hard working man," something like that. Like, what is your theme song for you working?
See, I was thinking Thunderstruck. So.
Totally different people. We're totally different.
So you know, he could not be more 90s country, and I could not be more 80s classic rock.
I'm 90s country minus Don't Take the Girl, Tim McGraw. Like, I'm not that 90s country. You say that I am, but I'm not. I can't stand that kind of music.
You did play that song for me one time.
I did.
I'd never heard it.
It still makes me tear up a little bit. Yeah. But no, I'm not that 90s country. That stuff is too cheesy. But yeah.
Theme music aside, we're going to talk about your work effort, your hard work. So you look, you a lot of times you can't control focus. You can't control that, but it's hard sometimes because there's external, internal factors. There's other things that we'll talk about that are going to affect these traits of a champion. When it comes to your attitude and your work ethic, man, those are the two things that you control the most. And I would say even attitude, there's so much that can attack your attitude, but I would say work ethic, that this is the number one thing that you have control of. The ability to work hard to be a champion in your marriage, in your business, in your life, in your walk with Christ, in your friendships, in your parenting. Hard work is the one thing you can control, period. Whenever Brad, my son, I've got a son and a daughter. My son was being recruited. His right before his junior year, we went up and hit several schools, and the one that he really wanted to go up and go to was Oklahoma State University. So we went up one day and threw for them, and he did some things for them. And for those of you who don't know, I'm from Midwest City, Oklahoma. Played high school ball with Coach Gundy, the former coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Great
but
career.
whether you agree or disagree, all that good stuff. But anyway, he's a great coach, great guy. And I played high school ball with him, great football player. But I never forget him setting the quarterbacks and the receivers down and him talking to them about being their best. And he said this to him. He said, if you'll do one extra, it'll put you 2 ahead in life. And I thought to myself, way to go, Coach Gundy, Mike. That's a good statement. And here's what he meant by that, Kevin. You can control your effort and your work. And if you'll do, if 10's required, do 11. And it'll put you 2 ahead because most of your opponents are doing 1 less. They're cheating. They're taking a shortcut, and they're doing 9. So if you'll do 11 and decide to do a little extra work harder, set your mind towards it, it will put you 2 ahead of your peers. I've always loved that. My son to this day will still talk about doing 2 extra, being 2 ahead, doing 1 extra and being 2 ahead. And I think that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about today in hard work and your work effort. So,
no doubt. And I remember that. I remember when he was on that recruiting trip. But I think this is what separates the weak from the strong, in leadership and in life, is that the guys that are truly being successful are the guys that are working hard. Yes, at work and those things. And we work hard at work, but we don't do it at the detriment of our families and our marriage and all those things. We have to work hard at all those things and in every area of our life. So I'm excited about jumping into this. Well,
so let's talk about it. The other great example I love, if I could stay in the sports world, you think about in business, the guys that are great and the great champions, I'll guarantee you they didn't know what 40-hour work weeks were. They just didn't know what that was about. I'm of the deep conviction. There's no way you're going to succeed and be great, if setting time limits. You've got to work. Now, you've got to hold yourself accountable and all those things when it comes to family and have people hold you accountable. But most champions have to be pulled back. They don't have to be pushed forward.
That's right.
We say around here all the time, I'd rather have somebody I've got to pull back than somebody I've got a lot of fire under.
Yeah.
It's better to have people that you've got to, whoa, slow down just a bit, than it is people you've got to constantly motivate and keep going.
Right.
One of my favorite guys is a guy named Tony Gwynn. Now, for those of you who don't know baseball or know sports, Tony Gwynn, one of the hardest things you can do in sports is to hit a baseball. You hit a round ball with a round bat, traveling at that speed, the ball moving. It's one of the hardest things in sports to do is to hit a baseball. That's why you can be successful hitting it 3 out of 10 times and make millions of dollars. You're successful at failing 7 times and succeeding 3 because it's so hard to do. Well, Tony Gwynn, I think, won 7 or 8 batting titles. He was an average-looking guy. As a matter of fact, if you look at Tony Gwynn, no offense, God rest his soul, but no offense, but he was kind of short. He was kind of pudgy. Didn't look like, the Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., the Mike Trouts of today. He didn't look the part, but he every year led the MLB in batting titles.
Won 8 batting titles.
8 batting titles. There you go.
League.
What is said about Tony Gwynn is after he would win a batting title, when it came time to be back the next year heading into spring training, the rookies would report first, and the rookies, every time they arrived, Tony Gwynn was already, a veteran, was already in camp. And they would actually complain that it was hard to get tee time and batting cage time because Tony Gwynn was always in there. Now, here's a veteran who didn't have to be there. He's the batting title winner. He's guaranteed contract. He's all the things. He doesn't have to be there, but he's there before the rookies are required to be there, already going to work. I think that's the mindset that truly, if young people, I tell young people all the time, Kevin, if they would set their mind to working and outworking their peers, it will put them miles ahead of their peers.
Yeah, I think that's so true because again, I go back to what I said a moment ago, but it just separates the strong from the weak. And there are some very intellectual people that have gotten really good degrees, master's degree, doctoral degrees, that have literally gotten passed up for different jobs and careers by people that are working hard. And we could give countless stories of that. Going back to Tony Gwynn, he said this, and I thought this was a fabulous quote talking about baseball, but this is literally what he said. He said, remember these two things, play hard and have fun.
Yeah.
And you talk about playing hard and hard work. He was a guy that did that. And I think about that in context. What we're talking about is, hard work for a champion is fun. And I think when people think about working hard, we go, oh man, I got to work hard. It's exhausting. It's all these things.
Yeah.
No. I look forward to the work that I have to do.
Yeah.
Why? Because it goes back to the purpose. It goes back to all these things of what a champion does, and what a champion is about. But I also look at this in context of what we're going to be talking about today. I look forward to the work that I have because I know that I'm only here for a season on this earth. I've got one chance at life. I've got one chance at what we get to do, and I want to make the most of it. And God has given me 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 chance, and I better make the most of it. And that's what I think.
Well, in the Bible, you think about when they were rebuilding the wall in the time when they were in captivity, they were coming back to Jerusalem, and they were charged with rebuilding the wall. And it was one of those times where it was just a real sound time. And the Bible gives a very interesting statement whenever they get permission. The prophet gets permission to go rebuild the wall. And then there's the very interesting scripture, and it's a very interesting passage, and it just simply says this: the people had a mind to work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about. They were passionate about rebuilding their home. They were passionate about seeing their capital city rebuilt, and they knew that it was going to take hard work, and they were going to have to do it. And there was a joy in that, but then there was also just an attitude that says, you know what, we just got to get it done. We got to go to work. So working hard, folks, those of you tuning in today, thinking you think about hard work. Whoa, that's not very fun. Boy, we'll make this a short podcast. Let me tell you something. This is so critical for your success in succeeding in work. You can blow past your peers at work just by outworking them. This hard work will absolutely set your marriage on a level that you can't even, you can only hope and dream to have a marriage so strong. It takes hard work and setting your mind saying, you know what, I'm going to work hard on my marriage. I say it all the time. I've said it on here before. Marriage is not hard, but it is hard work. And you've got to take work. When you've got to quit taking one of the most dangerous things I can do is to take my marriage for granted and quit working at it.
I'm not trying to chase a rabbit here, but I do want to talk about this. It just kind of came up in my head, and I want to throw this at you because we deal with this a lot.
Yeah.
And not because to me, of course, it is a spiritual issue in some ways, but not to everybody listening. It may not be a spiritual issue to them, but it is. We deal with this from the standpoint of, I have a lot of people that say they don't work hard because they're not working in their passion. Yeah. Or they're just not passionate about what they do. And I want to throw that at you because you're giggling because we giggle about it because there's an element of this working hard where as a man, well, you got to just man up and sometimes go do what you don't want to do. But also as a lady or something like that, sometimes working hard means working hard at the things you don't love doing all the time. But champions do it even when it's not comfortable or even when they don't like it. But what do you say to that person that may be listening that says, okay, it's easy to be passionate about what I like?
You are unpacking a huge thing. And so let's go. I think you're spot on with this. I think you're exactly right. Working hard, first of all, we were created to work hard. We were created to work. And champions understand that I'm not just created and I don't just have to work. I've got to work hard. And there is a passion in that. But let me just say something. I hear people say all the time, well, I just don't work hard because I'm not passionate about my job. Let me tell you what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about my job, but I'm really passionate about getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And supporting my family.
And maybe even a Christmas bonus.
And there you go. I want to support my family. I'm passionate about that. Well, but it's just not it's not what I want to do in life. Well, I tell you what you want to do in life. Eat and provide for your family.
That's right.
And that's the most important thing. And you know what? Just work. And hopefully you can find a job where, you know what, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That sounds good, but come on. I'm just going to say it. That's really nonsense. This whole idea that, well, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, then you're just getting by.
Yep.
I love what I do, and I still work my tail off because it takes hard work. And this mindset that says, well, I'm just going to do what it takes to get by. Well, that's a participation trophy. Congratulations. There you go. But if you'll set your mind to saying, you know what, no, I want to work, and it really is a mindset. It really is a discipline that says I want to work hard, and I'm going to work hard in my job, in my marriage, in whatever it is that I'm doing. I want to set the effort, put the effort that it's going to take, and it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take work. I mean, there's just no way around it. One of the most simple comments I've ever heard is Lou Holtz, great coach. They asked him about hard work, and he said, it's necessary. No, Lou, give us some insight. Give us some wisdom. Tell us something about hard work. I'm not going to do my Lou Holtz imitation,
right.
But it's necessary. And they were expecting this spectacular in-depth, and he just looked and said, oh, hard work, it's necessary.
Right.
It's necessary to win. It's necessary to be at a high level. If you're going to be successful in your marriage, it's necessary.
Yeah, and I know I opened up a little bit of a can because I think so many people they justify their laziness in that they're not passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? And listen to this. I don't think we should put too much stock in our jobs to give us our confidence or give us our fulfillment. I mean, just go to work and work hard. And don't put too much stock or put your identity in your job or anything like that. I think that's important. But at the end of the day, like Lou Holtz said, but as the Bible says and so many other things, just work hard because you were created for that, which we don't need to get into this, and we can let's go into, a little bit more of this hard work stuff. But not only on this earth are we going to work, but one day when we're in heaven as Christians, we're going to have jobs there too. So it's not like you better get used to doing it now and doing it for God's glory now. But moving on, let's talk about hard work.
Well, I love where you're going with this. The bottom line is, folks, if you're going to work hard, and again, this whole idea of, well, I'm just not passionate about my job. I don't want to work hard. So what's the motivation? What is the desire? I don't care to be a champion at my job. You should care about being a champion in everything.
Yes.
And God created you for that, and there should be something in you that says, I want to be the best. Mm-hmm. I want to be, I cannot be the best basketball player in the world, Kevin. It's not going to happen for me. I'm not going to be a champion basketball player. But I can be a champion in my field. Mm-hmm. I can be a champion at home with my bride. I can be a champion with my kids and my grandkids. And it's going to take work in order to do that. But it's like you said, yes, hard work I don't know, people see it as a negative connotation. I'm like you. Like, I get a day off and it's like, I got a full day. Get some work done. And I love at the end of the day when I've accomplished hard work.
And because what you're saying is that your hard work is fulfilling. And I know that's so simple to say, but so whether you like your job, you don't like your job, whatever, work hard because you'll feel more fulfilled.
And I'm going to tell you, and winning is way more enjoyable with hard work.
Oh, man.
So let that sink in real quick. Winning is so much funner, more enjoyable when I've worked hard at it. Mm-hmm. When I haven't worked hard at it, when I've just put in the average workout, the average work in, whenever I've just gotten a participation trophy and then I get the win, it's not near as enjoyable as when I look back and I look at the grind and I look at the effort that I put into that. And I think what people are doing is gypping themselves, thinking, I want to avoid work. I want to try to get out of hard work. I want all these other things. They're missing out on the joy of winning at a high level, and the not just the win, it's the process to get to the win. Because there's so many little wins in there when it comes to hard work.
It is so much more enjoyable when you put the work in and then you win. I had a really great conversation with a man that's very close to me this past week. And, you know, I was just having an honest moment with him and talking about, man, I want to be the best at my marriage. I want to be the best at, and we were just talking about kids and all the things, but time is short. Like when you have young kids, it feels like every hour of the day is planned, you know. And I feel like as we're trying to be high level leaders and win at high levels, you do feel like sometimes like, how can I be the best at all of this? And he said something to me. He said, not so polite word, but he basically said this: embrace the stink. Sometimes it requires to work hard, that you've got to embrace things that sometimes stink. That means that I've got to get up earlier in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish because of the season of life that I'm in. And he said, embrace it. And he said this: embrace it with joy. Like he said, because God, he literally talked about how you have this one life. And when it comes to hard work, you know what? Sometimes it requires me to get up early and stay late. But embrace it. That's what champions do. And they go about it instead of, again, with this negative connotation of like, oh, this stinks. They embrace the stink and they say, you know what? It's a challenge and let's go for it. And I think that's good for just even for me in my life is I want to embrace some of these challenges, waking up early, staying up late, and being the best I can be in all these areas that we're talking about.
So here's a couple of statements for you. Average people do just enough work to get by. Listen to this. Average people do only the work expected of them, and they really, really look for the shortcuts to take. Average people work at getting out of work.
Say that again.
Average people work at getting out of work.
Oh my God.
I've seen people, especially young people, and I think, you know what, if you'd work as hard at the task as you do at getting out of the work, you would already be done and be done very well because they work so hard at getting out of work. We have for our listeners, we have a very good friend. He's a military veteran. By veteran, I mean did several very combat intense tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. Is a friend named Billy. He's a CrossFit trainer, and I've never done CrossFit. But Billy has a gym. He challenged us to come many, many years ago, and we started going. And I thought I'd worked out hard. I'd wrestled, and that's the hardest sport there is. Football, I'd trained for that. I'd lifted, and I'd trained hard. Billy abuses you. I mean, the amount of work that he puts on you is so unbelievably hard, and at such a high level. And here's where I'm going with this. You'll remember, as I do, dozens and dozens of us up there working out, sweating, stinking, doing things that we never thought we could do, especially at our age, at my
climbs.
age. Oh, unbelievable things we did.
Yeah.
And at the end, laying in the floor, literally just trying to catch our breath. Remember the sweat stain that we'd leave on the concrete?
Yeah.
And folks, I cannot tell you, when I got up, I was exhausted. I was tired. But I'd look at Billy and I'd walk over and I'd say, thank you. Because I knew I'd accomplished something. I knew I'd gotten tremendously better that day because of the work that was required of me. And then that I was encouraged and motivated by Billy, because he's the best at it, to go even further. And I think what people, if we could all have a Billy in our life to help us work at our job, to help us work at our marriage, to help us work in our families, to help us in our Christian walk, just to say, hey, go to work, the discipline that it takes, I'm telling you, we would be so much better off, because hard work helps people with limited abilities be champions. So think about that. It doesn't matter. I can be average at marriage, but if I work hard at it, I can be a champion. I can be average at my job, but if there's a lot smarter people than you at work. Just get over it. They're smarter than you are. They may even have more talent than you, but you can outwork them, and that'll put you ahead of them.
That's right.
And that's the one thing you control. You can't control that people have more talent than you. You cannot control that. But what you can get better, but you still, at the end of the day, they've got some God-given things you just can't help.
Right.
But your decision to work hard will put you ahead of where they are. So let's land this plane. It's a real simple thing. If you want to choose to win, you want to choose to be the champion, that I believe God wants you to be. I hope that's why you're watching this, because you want to be. You better learn to focus. You get all the distractions out of the way. What is it you want to win at and be a champion at? Get focused on it. Then number 2, then establish a can-do attitude. It's a smile on your face, a bounce in your step that says, you know what, I can do this. I can do this. I can do it. And enjoy the process. Enjoy the everything that it takes to get there. And then number 3, it's at the end of the day, to quote Lou Holtz, hard work's just necessary.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do it. But it doesn't have to be a grind. You can learn to make it something about who you are in your character and your discipline. And folks, if you'll work hard, it will pay dividends. I mean, huge dividends.
Huge. And, I'll say this is some of you may be listening to this podcast right now and thinking, whew, I feel like I need to get to work. Good. I mean, seriously, even as we're recording this, I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's some areas that I need to go to work in and work harder in. But I think this is so, and I try to live my life by this, and we've talked about this a lot, but leaders do hard things. Yeah. And champions do hard things. They do what no one else is doing. And that's what we're talking about, is winning, being a champion. And you've got to decide as you're listening to this podcast, do I want to be a champion? Yes or no? Answer that question right now. And if the answer is yes, and it's emphatic, then do the hard stuff. Do what we're talking about, and go to work. Work hard at being the best husband that you can be. Go to work. Go ask your wife. I promise you, she will tell you the things that you can work on to be the best husband.
That's good.
Go talk to your boss. To be real frank and real honest right now, you're my boss. There's not a day that goes, or a very often time that probably should come to you more often, but that we talk, and I'm asking you, hey, what can I get better at? What can I do to improve in my job or in my role? I think go to your boss, talk to them about that. Go to different people in your life that may be further on in life than you are, and ask them, hey, what do you see in my life that I can get better at? And then do the things that they actually tell you to do. That's one of the most frustrating things in the world, is when people come to you for advice, and it's really honestly a disrespectful thing, is when somebody comes for you for advice and you're like, hey man, what can I do to get better? And then you tell them, do these things, and then you check in on them about a month later and they haven't done any of it. It's like, go do the hard stuff. Yeah. And that's what leaders and champions do.
Well, and the challenge then is just to put your head down and go to work. Or learn how to work. I mean, that's some people need to learn how to work. Now, that doesn't mean I neglect my family and neglect my kids. Don't overwork. Work smart. But there has to be a level of high effort in your work. And if you're going to be a champion, there's just no way to say it. It's necessary. You've got to work hard.
And I just saying that before we transition to this last little segment here is that I think so often people are like, oh, I don't want to work to the detriment of my family and all these things. Honestly, if you're working hard at what we're talking about, your wife is going to be like the most ecstatic person in the world, because you're working on what's most important. Your kids are going to see that, and they're going to be like, Dad is more impressed or more present in my life right now than ever before, because you're working hard at. That's what we're saying. Yeah. And I think
that's good.
That's so good. But listen, let's talk about this. Two preachers talking about all current events that are going on. This what we're talking about today, I don't necessarily think it's heavy. But it's definitely current.
It's controversial.
It's definitely controversial. There's lots of people, lots of sides, and but we do need to talk about it. And honestly, with our listeners, I think you need to be prepared in what we're going to talk about with Israel and what's going on in Israel right now. I think you need to be prepared that we're going to give a very biblical approach to this, and that's just us being real transparent, but I think there's a lot of our listeners that are looking for that.
Well, Kevin and I have committed that we're not going to be controversial. I think 99% of podcasts, they just look to be controversial. It's just, what can we do to pick a sore and to get views and shares. We're committed to not being controversial just to be controversial, because that drives me nuts. However, we're also committed to saying, but we're not going to avoid controversial things that we want to talk about.
Well, and
we're not. I mean, we're not going to be afraid of controversy. Right. We're going to be honest and upfront and talk about some fun things and some things that aren't so fun. But we're not going to be controversial just to be controversial. But we're not going to avoid it either. We're not going to avoid controversy because we don't want to be controversial. Not going to do that either.
No, you can't, because we have to, especially when it comes to what we're going to talk about, which is Israel. Really, John, what the big question that's circulating, I've gotten tons of text, emails. I mean, nearly every Sunday, not every Sunday, but a lot of Sundays I get questions about it. And it's especially, I will say this, it's in the younger generation. They're curious of how do we as a good Christian, support Israel, but yet not basically disagree with some of the things that they're doing. But when I say that it's just the younger generation, it's not just the younger generation. I've gotten lots of texts and even instant messages about this. And so that's what I want to talk about today is when we look at the nation of Israel, what's going on in Israel with Gaza and everything that's going on, their government is having to do some things that frankly are not good. It's not like we sit and celebrate the war that's going on in Gaza. But at the same time, like, you have a lot of different views on how do I support Israel and yet disagree, and how do I do that?
Well, man, there's so much to talk about here. And let me just say that God hates war. So for all of our listeners out there, let's be real clear. God hates war. War is a fact of this world because we are a fallen, sinful world. Because sin is in the world, because man is evil and wicked, we have wars. And God hates it.
Even when Israel's involved.
Even when
it's
Israel's
not like
involved.
He's celebrating the fact
not
that Israel,
at all. But here's some facts. Anti-Semitism, say that real fast, anti-Jewish, anti-Israel has been around for forever. That's just a fact. We're seeing a growth in it because you're seeing such a rise in Islam and Arabs nations who are migrating to Europe, migrating to the United States. Now, look, I'm not anti-Arab. I'm not saying that. Understand, I just want our listeners to understand that Arabs and Israelis have not gotten along for thousands of years. This goes all the way back biblical to who is the true heir and son of Abraham. Is it Ishmael or is it Isaac? The Jews and Christians believe it's Isaac. The Muslims believe that it was Ishmael because he was the firstborn. And so biblically, we know that the promise, the Abrahamic covenant that God made with Abraham and his people was through Isaac. That one day, through God's people, that a Messiah would come. So here's the question that I want to talk about. I want to narrow it down of why I support Israel. Is that fair to do?
I think that's fair.
Because I get a lot of young people, get a lot of older folks and I'm going to be real proud. I want to be spiritual from the biblical standpoint. It's funny to me, there's a lot of people who really don't know the Bible, and they're not theologians, they're politicians, and they're, quite frankly, podcasters who are coming out saying it's not biblical, the Abrahamic covenant is no longer. I would just ask them, do they read their Bible, and do they understand the God of the same as yesterday, today, and forever? It's not like God changed his mind on the Abrahamic covenant and said, okay, never mind. No, he committed to Abraham, and he does not break his covenants, that Abraham, you're going to be my people. The Messiah is going to come from you. I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to curse those who don't stand with you. Who don't stand with you.
And real quick for those, because I don't want to. This idea is known as replacement theory. And so I want you to hear that, because you're going to hear that a lot. This idea that the church of today, the American church, the church of today, has replaced Israel. So
which is not a biblical.
No, and
it's not.
Before you continue, I want our listeners to understand. They're going to say replacement theory is now basically that is God. He is fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant by replacing it with the church. That's not biblical. That's not
biblical. No, because, and here's why it's not biblical. Because God made a covenant with Abraham that they were to be the family, that God's chosen people. And we as Christians, we don't replace that. We are adopted into that. We are grafted into it through the new covenant of Jesus Christ.
Right.
But we are still not the chosen people.
No, we're not.
That's that's Abraham's seed that's going today. And so I believe biblically it's still in place that if we stand with Israel, we'll be blessed. If we stand against Israel, we'll be cursed. Now, so it then begs the question, and I know some young people, godly young people, who are like, well, Pastor, I believe that. But how do we stand with all things they're doing? And I've got two answers to that. First one is the spiritual answer. And I always go back to God said, John, biblically, and I make it personal, honor your mother and your father. Mm-hmm. Jesus didn't come to do away with the covenant, with the law. He came to fulfill it.
To fulfill it.
And so, if anything, it's even a higher standard now. Mm-hmm. And so, the honoring your mother and father, it doesn't say honor them even or only if they're honorable. No, it says, John, it's a hard issue. You honor your parents. Mm-hmm. And if you do, your days will be long in the land. I know that God will bless me, and I know that truly what God has called me to do is to honor my parents. Now, does that mean my parents were always honorable? No, it does not. But that's not the point. We're to stand with Israel even if we don't agree with everything we're doing. Then there's the practical side of it, Kevin, that says, and I would just challenge people to think globally and to think like this. I don't agree with everything that England does. I think England is very secularist. I think they're very all kinds of things. I don't agree with some of the decisions that they make, past, present, future. But I can tell you this, they're still our ally, and we still need to stand with them. Mm-hmm. That's just the practical side. I certainly don't agree with France, and certainly Macron, some of the stuff they do. Canada, don't agree with some of the stuff they do. But they're still our allies, and you stand with your allies. So there's the spiritual side of, God said to do it, I'm going to do it. Then there's the practical side of it that says you better stand with them. Because I'm going to tell you something. Israel did not start this war. Hamas started this on October the 7th when they went over into that kibbutz and they did unbelievable, horrific tragedies. You and I have both been there.
Yeah.
We've seen that Israel, look, it's a tough environment. It's a tough place. But Hamas, Egypt won't take them. No one else will take them. Israel has them. And they literally provide everything. They provide jobs, they provide water, electricity, everything for them. And yes, it's a conflict, and yes, it's difficult, but they didn't start the war. Hamas started that on October the 7th. And so I would just say to people, look, we're not trying to be jerks about this and you can agree, and you can disagree or agree with me. I'm just saying, I'm going to be, at the end of the day, I want God's hand on my life. Mm-hmm. I want to stand with what God has told me to do. And I believe with deep conviction, He's told me, and I'm going to stand with Israel. Mm-hmm. I'm going to support the Jews. And I do not believe in genocide. I do not believe that I think the war will end tomorrow if Hamas will just give back the captives and stop lobbing rockets and stuff over. I think it'll end tomorrow if they'll do that. So it's like, well, Israel needs to stop. Well, Hamas can stop it. And I know we're getting in the weeds and difficult. I'm old, and so I feel that way. So for our young listeners,
I think it's important though, because and look, like I come from a younger generation, but the generation right after me is asking lots of questions.
Mm-hmm. Which is okay.
Yeah, questions are good. Questions are so good, because the generation that's coming after me is asking. They're asking good things of why. I'm good with supporting Israel. I'm good with that, but why? And let
me, Kevin, let me say this to young people. It's not like we didn't ask questions either.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not like we didn't ask the same questions. Mm-hmm. It's not like they're the only generation that's ever asked good questions. Everybody asks questions. Mm-hmm. We've just been able to answer them. And that's what they're going to have to do, is to answer it within their own hearts.
Right. And I believe that we will and we should. But I want to speak to this from a younger pastor perspective is that when you read through the Old Testament and you, for example, maybe read through the book of Joshua, the things that Israel had to do to fight for their literal existence is sad. And it's not like you read it and you go, wow, I'm proud of that. Man, no, God hates war. But at the same time, they're still fighting for their literal existence.
When all your neighbors have a desire that you not only be conquered, that you be eliminated, that you be wiped off the face of the earth, that's a pretty tough. I mean, imagine if Mexico, Canada, and Cuba, everybody around us wanted us, and really it's not even comparable because we're this large nation, but if we were, let's say the state of Louisiana and all the other states around us wanted us annihilated, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and so here's what I'll say. Stand strong, be bold for the nation of Israel, pray for Israel. Do that, please. But I do believe that this, from a Christian perspective, is right now a lot of people are being faced with a little bit of a wrestle with looking at the situation in Israel from a Christian worldview, and they're for the first time having to really do that, and it's uncomfortable, and so they're asking questions. And what I'll say to that's okay to ask questions, dig in the scriptures, and stand with Israel, and don't ever give ground on that. We live in a fallen world, and God hates war, like you've said, and like we've said it multiple times, but we're to stand with them even when we don't always agree with what they do. You know what? And I'll say this, and you may. I think you'll agree with me here, is, President Trump is not a perfect president, and, by no means, but he has done a great job in a lot of ways, of standing with Israel, but yet at the same time being very vocal in some of the things he doesn't like. I mean, he really has. He said, these are some things I don't like that they're doing, and he's really influenced that in a lot of ways. And my point is that it's okay to not always like what they do, but we always are to stand with them. They're our ally, and we're to want God's hand on us as a nation.
Could not agree more. I think that was very well said and summarized. Kevin, I want to just challenge our listeners to say this. Let's just pray that the war ends. I want the war to end. A two-state solution, yada yada yada. I don't know all the details of that. I know there are two sides to every story. I know that for a fact. I know someone on the ground up in the area that said that there is food up there, and they're trying to get it, that Hamas is the one in a lot of ways that is stopping the food from being delivered, and different things, and taking it. And then there's some reports that no, Israel's stopping it and all those things. I just know there's two sides to every story, and the truth is usually in the middle. But at the end of the day, you're right. I'm going to stand with Israel. When it comes to eschatology, for those of you tuning in, end times, Jesus said, I'm coming back, over and over again in Scripture, and he is coming back. And at the end of the day, the center of the world, the focus of the world is not the United States of America. It's not Europe. The center focus of the world, especially when it comes to biblical end times, is Jerusalem. And so I'm going to keep my eye on Jerusalem. And the truth is that I believe that God has promised, and God will fulfill his promise. And what's going to happen with Israel and the nation there is we're just going to trust God with. And I don't want to see another person die over there. But I also know that's not realistic. So
it's not. But at the same time is that I encourage all of you, especially all different ages, that have asked me questions. I know you've gotten a lot of those questions. Make it real simple. Stand with Israel, because you want God's hand on your life, and you want God's hand on your nation. And that's real simple to that. Hey, thanks for listening to that and listening to us talk about something that is, in a lot of ways, is kind of heavy. But we do need to approach these things from a good perspective.
We get a lot of questions.
And we get a lot of questions, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about. But we thank you for listening. Please make sure, again, just to emphasize, to share this podcast and get it out there to the world, and help us do that. But man, just want to say thanks for tuning in today for the Traits of a Champion podcast, and make sure you get the word out. Hey, God bless. We'll see you next time.
Go get the win, guys.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Traits of a Champion podcast, helping you pursue the wins in life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe. You can also follow along with us on Facebook, Instagram, or watch our episodes on YouTube.